In recent years, the international community has witnessed a surprising development in diplomatic relations between Iran and Niger. These two countries were not traditionally associated with each other, but a change in the political climate around the world has unexpectedly drawn them together. The cooperation between these two nations has drawn a lot of attention as Iran looks to increase its power in Africa and Niger looks to broaden the coalition it supports. So, in today's video, we will examine the recent changes in their relationship, the motivations behind their collaboration, and any possible ramifications for both countries and the global community. We will also be talking more about the trainers and equipment Niger received from Russia. Let's explore the complexities of this fascinating alliance and discover the driving forces behind Iran and Niger's expanding partnership. Iran has been secretly negotiating the purchase of 300 tons of uranium concentrate, or yellowcake, with the military leaders in Niger. This is a concerning development that could greatly impact international security. This covert agreement has sparked significant scrutiny and alarm among international observers, especially from the US and France. Although Tehran has always been interested in Niger's uranium, the recent talks with Niamey have elevated the topic in international security and diplomacy discourse. The uranium in question originates from the Arlit mines in northern Niger, operated by the French company Uranium, formerly known as Areva. These mines, which have been in operation since 1970, presently contain an estimated 700 tons of uranium concentrate, under the protection of the Nigerian armed forces. The agreement, which started in late 2023, states that Iran will give Niger tactical drones and manned portable air defense systems in return for the 300 tons of yellowcake. Nevertheless, there have been major practical obstacles to these discussions, especially concerning moving so much uranium. The Biden administration believes that air transfer is the most practical option, however. Other approaches are being explored as well. Concerns over a possible uranium sale to Iran have been expressed in Paris and Washington. After learning about the negotiations in early 2024, the U.S. took the initiative and sent Assistant Secretary of State for African Affairs, Molly Fee, to Niamey in March 2024 to talk the military government out of moving forward with the agreement. Even though Tehran has shown interest in Niger's uranium stockpiles, the military leaders have acknowledged that there has been no formal agreement reached. Note that the Nigerian government has received clear warnings from the U.S. government that doing business with Iran would subject them to harsh penalties. A Canadian consortium has already been identified as a possible buyer for the uranium, and American authorities are aggressively looking for other purchasers. France shares U.S. fears about uranium being used to support Iran's nuclear program, as it has a stake in the region through Uranium. Both countries are cautious about Iran's objectives, given its controversial nuclear programs and the wider consequences for regional and global security. Note that the situation is further complicated by Russia's purported involvement in mediating the negotiations between Iran and Niger. Russia's intervention is a calculated attempt to fortify bilateral relations with Iran by rewarding it for its military assistance in Ukraine. These geopolitical maneuvers highlight the intricate interplay between international relations and uranium's strategic significance as a resource for these geopolitical maneuvers. On the other hand, it seems that Niger is using its uranium riches as leverage to get better terms from Western nations that take advantage of its resources. For instance, the Nigerian government has threatened to cancel the mining permits of Urano and Govi-X if they do not increase production at their sites. Nuclear proliferation, geopolitical strategy, and resource exploitation are dangerously intertwined, as seen by the covert uranium negotiations between Iran and Niger. Given Iran's controversial nuclear efforts, the possibility that Iran may acquire a sizable amount of uranium concentrate poses a serious threat to international security. This deal would not only challenge the numerous sanctions and agreements designed to prevent Iran from proliferating nuclear weapons, but simultaneously raise concerns in Washington and Paris. If Tehran acquires more uranium, it could expedite its nuclear capabilities, escalating international tension. The reported amount of uranium is roughly equivalent to Iran's 2019 domestic output. This move also has the potential to create tensions between Niger and Western countries, which have been outspoken in expressing their concerns against the sale of uranium to the Islamic rulers in Iran, bolstering Iran's nuclear program. This could lead to economic sanctions and political isolation for Niger, which would further undermine security in the region. It is important to note that Mohamed Bazoum, the president of Niger, was deposed in July 2023 by the National Council for the Safeguarding of the Homeland in a military coup. This was the sixth military coup in the Sahel region of Africa since 2020. The series of coups began in Mali in 2020, followed by Guinea, Chad, and Sudan in 2021, and Burkina Faso in 2022. Guinea, Burkina Faso, and Mali have all shown strong support for Niger's CNSP, opposing external efforts to reinstate Bazoum. With the help of Russia, the military regime in Niger has driven out forces from France, other European countries, and currently the United States. In March of this year, following a meeting with U.S. officials, the military government in Niger sought the evacuation of U.S. personnel. Senior U.S. officials voiced worries about the entry of Russian troops during the conference and charged that the military government of Niger was preparing a deal with Iran over uranium. In response to these charges, spokesman Colonel Amadou Abdrahmane attacked the U.S. delegation, saying they were attempting to undermine Niger's sovereignty and threatening to take action against them. He emphasized Niger's right to choose its partners to effectively combat terrorism. As part of a 2012 counterterrorism pact, the U.S. had previously maintained a sizable military presence in Niger, including 2 bases. One of these, Air Base 201, cost more than $100 million and has been used to target Jamaat Nusrat al-Islam wal Muslimin and terrorists affiliated with the Islamic State since 2018. Take note that the head of Iran's atomic energy organization, Mohammad Islami, spoke to journalists in response to the story in Le Monde regarding the report that the Islamic Republic of Iran had purchased yellowcake from Niger. He said, "You must consider the source of the news. For the first time ever, we announced the news of the Islamic Republic's modest nuclear program to the ears of people in all corners of the world in a completely professional manner." As all this is going on, Russia sent new military advisors and equipment to Niger, a country which wants the U.S. troops to leave. Russia has now sent 3 cargo planes of military material and instructors in the past month. The instructors' arrival was verified by the Africa Corps, which is thought to be the African equivalent of the Wagner paramilitary force. The confirmation was posted on the group's Telegram account. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin revealed that Russian forces have now been stationed at an air facility in Niger near the airport in Niamey, which also houses U.S. forces. Niger's military regime, which took power in a July 2023 coup, expelled French troops based in the country and then denounced a military cooperation agreement with the U.S. Note that in April, the first group of roughly 100 Russian advisors arrived in Niger. Russian military action brings American and Russian forces closer together at a time when their military and political competition over the situation in Ukraine is growing more intense. It also calls into question what would happen to American installations in the nation in the event of a pullout. Remember that the U.S. and its allies were obliged to remove their troops from many African countries after coups that attracted rebels eager to overthrow Western rulers. Along with the anticipated withdrawal of American forces from Niger, the French military was driven out of Mali and Burkina Faso. Meanwhile, U.S. troops recently left Chad. At the same time, Russia is attempting to reinforce its ties with African countries by portraying itself as a friendlier nation with no colonial past in the region. The U.S. presence and influence in Niger is most likely challenged by the entrance of Russian weapons and trainers, which are perceived as a strategic win for Russia. American authorities worry that Russian combatants and paramilitary organizations, such as the Wagner Force, would take part in political operations to obstruct U.S. efforts in Niger and push for the evacuation of U.S. troops. However, the question we should be asking ourselves is whether Niger will regret receiving all this support from Russia in the future. Only time will tell. Going back to our main topic of the day, Iran and Niger are developing a friendship that has enormous possibilities for both countries. It is important to take into account the underlying motives and potential advantages that this alliance may offer, even though their partnership may cause some skepticism and draw attention from the world community. By siding with Iran, Niger might lessen its dependency on established friends and broaden its range of diplomatic ties. Niger stands to gain from Iran's technological know-how in several areas, including infrastructure development, healthcare, and agriculture. Furthermore, more investment and commerce between the two nations can strengthen Niger's economy and open up new job opportunities. On the other hand, Iran sees Niger as a gateway to expanding its influence in West Africa. Niger's strategic location and its rich reserves of natural resources make it an attractive partner for Iran's economic and geopolitical interests. By forging closer ties with Niger, Iran can establish a foothold in the region, thereby strengthening its position on the global stage. Do you think the West is going to be quiet on this recent development? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Do not forget to like this video and subscribe to the New Tourist channel. Turn on notifications too so you get notified whenever we upload videos like this. Thanks for watching and see you in our next video.